You've been married 23 years.
23 years.
4 kids.
Yeah.
And one of your daughter or your son just got married.
Brooklyn just got married.
Who, by the way, cooked here once with us. He did such a great job.
I know, thank you. Yeah, it was a beautiful wedding. And as a mother, to see my son so happy means so much. What more can you ask for?
You can't ask for one more thing. And what about, I mean, you're still a parent, which is kind of interesting. I always wonder about, you know, when you parent grown kids, what is that like for you in this moment?
Do you know, I think that the kids grow up so quickly, and it's about cherishing every moment. And we're a very close family. It's all about communication and being present as a parent. I love to work. I love what I do in fashion and beauty, but being a parent, being a good mom is my number one.
Brooklyn Beckham didn't include his parents in his vow renewal. Not even his grandparents, not even his brothers and sister. Today, you'll see how one of Britain's most well-known families was quietly pulled apart and how a wedding dress may have sparked the entire situation. Who do you believe is truly responsible here? Brooklyn, Nicola, or his parents? Share your thoughts in the comments. This one is going to split everyone. Victoria Beckham's words create a portrait of a proud mother, a woman who raised her kids with purpose, affection, and strong values. She gets emotional recalling Paris, and she lights up when speaking about Brooklyn's happiness, yet behind this public warmth, something much colder was already developing. Because just months after this sincere interview, Brooklyn would completely cut off communication with his family. No calls, no texts, not even a public birthday message for Victoria's father. What shifted so suddenly? How did a son so cherished and supported become so distant? Something deep was brewing, and no one saw it coming.
I knew the renewal had happened because they briefed it to People magazine in America. Initially, there was this view, certainly taken by the Beckhams, that hang on, they're being quite classy here. They're not going to release any pictures. They're not going to actually rub anyone's noses in it. They've released their wedding vows, and that's it. The photos of the vow renewal land, we just see this barrage of photos on their Instagrams. But, I mean, the Beckhams aren't there. It was like, whoa, nobody expected this. In fact, the Beckhams described it themselves as an onslaught. Because Brooklyn has basically just, in so many words, said, you are no longer a part of my marriage or my life.
It wasn't just a family snub, it was a calculated signal. The Beckham family described it as an attack, a deliberate wave of wedding photos that left out every single person from Brooklyn's former life. A second ceremony completely reinvented, new vows, a new guest list, a new officiant, Nicola's billionaire father. The message in the visuals couldn't have been louder. The Beckhams had been replaced. And the heartbreak wasn't simply about missing an event, it was the public announcement that Brooklyn no longer viewed his family as part of his future. If your child cut you off like this, would you fight to repair the relationship or let them walk away? Comment fight or let go.
What Nicola and Brooklyn are trying to do is put out there that Brooklyn had a really unhappy childhood. You know, there's no detail, there's nothing, you know, it's like, no, actually, it's your fault. You know, they're now kind of, firing shots at David and Victoria for being bad parents. Obviously I wasn't there. No one was there apart from them. But I mean, anyone who knows the Beckhams, and of course they've got their faults. They know they've got their faults. But the one thing everybody says about them is that they are great parents. And so, what did they do? Who knows?
In May, whispers began that there was a feud directly between Cruz, 20-year-old Cruz, and Brooklyn. So Cruz had been apparently calling up all of the family's usual restaurants and asking whether Brooklyn was going to be there on the night that he was intending to attend an event. And so he would call and say, is Brooklyn going to be there? And would also ask the staff to let him know if his older brother was going to be in attendance and therefore he wouldn't go. And this is the first time we've sort of started to see a direct argument between the two brothers. It was also revealed in May that there had been a long-standing bubbling argument going on between Romeo and Brooklyn. They'd been incredibly close when they were children, but then when it came to the big D-Day, the wedding between Nicola Peltz and Brooklyn, Nicola had refused to speak to Romeo's then girlfriend Mia Regan, who was also a model and was incredibly beautiful, and Nicola felt quite threatened by her presence.
From brothers to strangers, Cruz and Romeo once admired Brooklyn, but now they skip events if there's a chance he might show up. Cruz has even asked restaurants to confirm Brooklyn won't be there before he books a table. Online, a quiet feud grows in the comments, with Cruz openly throwing shade at Brooklyn. Meanwhile, Romeo is still hurt over the friction involving his ex-girlfriend, Mia, the same woman Niccolo allegedly ignored at the wedding. And behind all of this sits a whisper campaign claiming Brooklyn had a miserable childhood. But people close to the family insist on a different reality, saying David and Victoria were firm but affectionate, involved, and encouraging. So, who started this narrative?
No longer speak to his friends pre-Nicola. So you've got Jack Ramsey, Gordon Ramsay's son, and they were like best friends. They were like little boys who would play in the garden together. They were real mates. He wasn't there. In fact, he doesn't speak to Jack. Then, you've got Rocco Ritchie wasn't there. So no, there is nobody in Brooklyn's life anymore who was there before her. So instead you have all of these, you have a makeup artist, a content creator, you have, it was kind of like a lineup of staff, like the paid help were the guests. And so that also prompted a real sadness for the Beckhams. We're like, he doesn't even see his friends anymore. And like, what?
Brooklyn was raised to believe that hard work matters, his first job being a cafe shift at 14. David and Victoria taught their kids to earn what they wanted. But in Nicola's world, money moves without limits. Her billionaire father expected the Beckhams to contribute to the newlyweds' house, and when they didn't, the tensions grew. Nicola comes from a completely different environment, one where money represents loyalty and boundaries feel like rejection. The Beckhams didn't change, Brooklyn did, slowly at first, and then all at once.
So July comes around and the third sibling takes centre stage, that being Harper 7. It was her 14th birthday coming up, and if Brooklyn was going to ignore that, that would be the final straw for the Beckhams, particularly for Romeo and Cruz, who are incredibly protective over her. So the big day rolls around and Brooklyn does indeed wish her a happy birthday, but it's incredibly pointed and obviously very crafted. So what you have here is a simple picture of Brooklyn, Harper, and he's made sure to get Nicola in the picture as well, so that there's no question towards his alliances in this whole scenario. And it's actually a picture taken from the last known picture actually of Brooklyn and his younger sister, who he was incredibly close with, at Victoria Beckham's fashion show in September.
Brooklyn was like not just a big brother to Harper, but like almost like a kind of little dad figure, because he was 14 when she was born, 12, 13 when she was born, and David was playing football away a lot. So he was kind of this male figure, much older male figure in her life, and she adored.
By this point, it wasn't just a family disagreement, it was a complete break. Childhood friends like Jack Ramsay were gone, cousins were forgotten, and even Harper, his little sister, was pulled into the PR strategy. A single Instagram post, perfectly staged with Nicola in the spotlight, using a photo from a fashion show months earlier. Not a genuine moment, but a promotional tactic. To David and Victoria, this wasn't a real attempt to reconnect, it was an insult disguised as affection.
So it was like, oh, now they're in a bit of a quandary. Do they post or do they not? As the day grew nearer, it was like, oh my God. And David and Victoria were worried because, of course, they've got Harper's feelings to think about here. And, she's obviously really upset that she doesn't see her biggest brother anymore.
It's not really, as we've discussed here, it's not an olive branch at all to his younger sister. It is a clear PR stunt.
I think they had to do it, right? Like, they had been really under attack. Their publicity was really not in a good place. And had they ignored little Harper's birthday party, it would have just been an easy hit for people to think that they were, pretty unkind. So, that it was being briefed out by the Brooklyn and Nicola's PR machine that, they're wishing her a happy birthday. But of course, to David and Victoria, it was like, well, you've done this as a publicity stunt. You've done it because you know that your PR is not.
The second wedding became the final breaking point. 48 photos posted by Nicola, and not a single one included the Beckhams. But what cut the deepest was seeing Nelson Peltz, the billionaire father-in-law, standing in the place David once held. He had been Brooklyn's gym partner, his football coach, his confidant, and now he was replaced by a man who, to most people watching, simply throws money at problems. Victoria once pictured herself sewing Brooklyn's wedding outfit, but Nicola chose Valentino and then her mother's vintage dress. It was a message wrapped in couture. Brooklyn is essentially saying goodbye to his family in countless ways.
Brooklyn is basically saying goodbye to his family in so many ways.
David and Victoria would get on a plane now and go and get him. Like they believe that he's being brainwashed by Nicola. He's being referred to, amongst the clan, the Beckham clan, as the hostage, because they think that she is holding him hostage, and that, she is controlling him to the point where he can no longer make his own decisions. And this isn't the Brooklyn they know. The Brooklyn they know is the Brooklyn that adored his grandmothers and who loved his little sister, who loved his little brothers, who loved his mum and dad, and loved being part of this big family. He loved his cousins. He loved his auntie. He loved his aunties. He loved his... And so... And all of a sudden, that he doesn't anymore. Like, that's what they just cannot get there.
They called him the hostage, not out of bitterness but out of heartbreak, because to them the Brooklyn they once knew is gone. The boy who stayed with his grandmothers while his mom toured with the Spice Girls, the big brother who adored Harper, the son who ran beside his dad in the park. He doesn't exist anymore. What has taken his place is filtered, controlled, and distant. To the Beckhams, it isn't Brooklyn who shut them out. It's Nicola who locked the door.
Over the summer, both families, the Peltzers and the Beckhams, have been having a lovely time. They've both been on their mega yachts, sailing around Europe. We've seen posts from Nicola saying how much she loves Brooklyn and her family, and very lovey-dovey, despite the fact that her husband, Brooklyn, has seriously fallen out with his side of the family. And it's all very much sort of, we're a unit, we're sailing around on our massive yacht, yada yada.
You can't help but think that Brooklyn is just being used as this pawn by Nicola to say, hey, look, now he's got my family. You don't need your own family, Brooklyn, you've got my family. And it's all being used as a real, let's rub their noses in it. So I don't actually think they're all that close. Brooklyn's all that close, and he must just be quite lonely all the time.
While the Beckhams mourned, Nicola shared heart emojis and yacht vacations. Her captions dripped with affection for Brooklyn but made no acknowledgement of his past. Meanwhile, his childhood quietly fell apart. Friends vanished, siblings unfollowed him, birthdays were ignored. What looked like a celebration to outsiders felt like a funeral to his family, a final goodbye wrapped in confetti. Brooklyn Beckham didn't just create distance, he erased a lifetime of love in public. And what began as a dress choice, Valentino instead of Victoria, escalated into a rift too wide to mend. Perhaps Nicola never intended to replace the Beckhams, and perhaps Brooklyn was never strong enough to resist. But when loyalty is reframed as control and love starts to feel conditional, it's not just a marriage that breaks, it's an entire family tree. This video is based on publicly available sources and does not constitute professional advice.